Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 4, Episode 9. I am your host, Alejandro, with me, the returning guest, not quite guest, host.
Hey everybody, I am equal spreader of democracy and hater of Shinra, Paul.
Yes, that's, it always feels weird, Paul, that it's always once every 2 weeks that I get to see you now. Then
I know.
it just feels like it's forever. But, yeah, we always have to try to make the most out of your times, especially because I don't know, once the kid is born, like, how available you'll even be. So,
Yep, at first it's probably going to be a full-on drop-off for at least a couple of months, and then as we figure out a routine, we'll see how it goes. But I don't expect that to be my permanent removal from the show or anything,
yeah.
so you'll see
So,
me again.
yeah, so when the kid arrives, it's like you're gonna be like not showing up at all, right? Just so that
Probably so, yeah.
yeah, just so that I know how to fill up the
Yeah.
show, like I've been trying to do every other week.
It's gonna be a bit rough for a bit there, but I from what I've learned through research and other people's experiences, I need to be a lot more generous than you think you do with the time. Because you think, oh, I'm getting off from work, I'm only having to watch over my wife and child. That's easy. Turns out it's not. Who would have thought? But I am here for now, and pretty soon going to be in a new house.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
hopefully,
When's that move happening for you?
it was going to be mid-April, but now it's starting to move up. So they're going to clear things up, I think, in early April.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we're just going to try to move all of our stuff in throughout that whole month. And then hopefully be set. And the internet's already set there. All they have to do is run the line to the house. So that was the worst part of all of that last time, and that is never happening again to me. But yeah, as of right now, everything seems pretty full steam ahead.
Sweet. Yeah, I can't wait to hear like what the process is for you moving again this year. Like from, but at least you're there now. You're in the same town. It's not like moving cross
Yeah.
country. So
Only about 15 to 20 minutes away, just through some mountain roads is all.
yeah,
But
and for just some slight advantage, at least the big games of interest will be out by then. So there's gonna be like
yes.
less movement around that time. So you could
And I have
probably
way
focus.
more storage space now. So even if something weird goes down,
Mhm.
I've got a lot of games to hold me over.
Yeah, and at least hopefully you're not gonna have another internet problem. But you did resolve that for this new place, right? That like you
Yes.
were telling you
Yeah.
that there was a chance you were not gonna have
I
internet.
At first, they were saying that I was going to only have satellite internet available, and I said no, thank you. And I did some digging, and I found out that they just didn't know what they were talking about, and they didn't know how to find my address because
Hmm.
it's a new building.
Yeah.
So, where I think we're good. Everybody's set. I've gotten all the confirmations. They said they did the construction needed, so all they got to do is put the wire, plug it up to my house, drill a hole and everything, and I should be good
Yep. Can't wait to hear more. Thankfully, like I only see you twice a week, but I talk to you pretty much every day in our chat. So
every day.
I can't wait to hear like what your misadventures can be because you there always something funny happens when it comes to house stuff for you. So it's always it's like
Always.
it's a literal reality show. But yeah, enough of that because this is a gaming show and I have to enjoy you as much as I can right now. And this is the X Bottom Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 10 a.m. onwards, God willing. Available in the YouTube channel Escape Gaming as well as most audio services around the world. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/escapegaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. And just a shout out to PJ, our friend that he was able to kind of join in last week and making his long-awaited return to the podcast since we had him for the Metroid Dread debate back in October 2021. I cannot believe it's been like almost 3 years since the last time I had him over. Even though technically he joined me for a reacts for the Xbox Showcase of 2022. That was like on a Sunday. I got to have him join in because then on 2023 I did it with Sebastian. So it was like, but at least for podcast that was kind of like his long way to return, and he enjoyed it. He said that he'd be down to guest more often. So I know I have another chip to kind of pull from whenever I need to fill up the
All
space.
right.
Whenever I don't have you here, obviously I have Sebastian, and I also have Brian from SG, and also kind of like the super magazine thing that I had him on, and the other guys from SG if I need to kind of like pull in at any point. And I may try to do some solo episodes, kind of like I did that one last September when I had to record a solo one when we lost that 3 hour one.
Yeah.
Remember
It
it was
didn't stop you though.
yeah. That was rough because literally after I finished recording that, my great grandma died. Remember that? It was like it was around that time, so it was like, yeah. I'm glad that I was able to like pull through for that one because it was like, if I was trying to record that after that had happened, that would have been rougher. So I can't believe that was September, but yeah.
My goodness.
And it's so funny we're mentioning September because you know what game I was talking about in that day because a state of play had happened, and Sebastian kind of it ended with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh.
That was the trailer that showed Junon and Rufus Shinra and all of that. And now we get to talk about the fact that we've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Technically, you have also been playing other stuff. You talked about Pacific Drive the last time. Helldivers 2, you still have a crew that you can reliably play that game on. I don't. So I'm like, I haven't been playing Helldivers 2 like as much.
If you want it today, I'll jump on with you. You got to submit to logging in and then seeing who's on the socials tab. That's the tricky part.
Yeah, and I'm so balls deep on Rebirth right now that it's kind of like the desire is like, I might as well write this in because let me just start this. Like, I've been since I finished 7, the original one, last year when I was doing kind of like that replay of Final Fantasies, thanks to what 16 did with me. Kind of like igniting my passion for that series and then finally getting to see it and be like, gosh, imagine getting to see like a lot of these parts, the things that I haven't seen, having just played Remake just a few years ago and remembering a bunch of the Midgard stuff. Be like, gosh, if they're able to like really in high fidelity recreate so many of these areas, this could be like a dream game. And for me, like 57 hours later, almost a week since I started playing this, I'm at chapter 8 now. It's been a while since I've been this hyped for a game, and the hype has been pretty much met. Remember, Ragnarok, I held myself from getting hyped.
You did.
Yeah, I was like, I intentionally didn't let myself get hyped because I was fearing that game could disappoint me if I get like too hyped about it. I had already been used to it. I mean, like when I get super hyped about something, then it doesn't meet expectations. The last time I learned that the hard way was Uncharted 3 back in 2011. I consumed so much of that game like leading into launch, and then when I played it and finished it, I was like, okay. I was like, I certainly was like super hyped about this, and I finished it and it was great. But it's like, did I hype it up too much? And this was one of the few times that I let myself be hyped, even to the point that remember that one episode that I shared that it was just after I had shared you like 15 articles that popped up like after a TGS, like with all the different details about this game, and you're like, this is too much information, just call me when the game is out. So it's like I've been like burning or with hype with this game for a while, and I have been so happy that this is the second time this generation where I've been playing a game where I look at the clock and it's like 2 a.m. I'm like, crap, already. I really gotta go to bed. I have to respond. The last one was Elden Ring for me. So it's like that's when I know that a game is really like hooking me in a really good way. So before I get to say more, I want to hear from you because unlike me, you were a little bit more reserved. You've been like more public about the fact that the part that you love about Final Fantasy VII was the Midgard part, which was basically covered in Remake. And then unlike the rest of the world where everyone loves the rest of the game, like the idea of like, it's wild that you had this big city, but there's a huge world outside. That for the people in 1997 I've been reading, that was kind of like the moment where it was like that kind of like realization where everyone was playing that game that they thought all the game was going to be in Midgard. And then they realized that no, it is a Final Fantasy game. There's like many different towns and an entire continent's worth of like cities to explore and adventures to go and all that. And I would say the open world of this game is kind of capturing like what I've been reading about many people felt back in 1997, even though structurally it's a Ubisoft game. But I want to hear from you because you had a little bit more of a
little bit of ups and downs.
Yeah, ups and downs. So I want to hear.
And I want to start it off by saying I still think this game is like an easy 9 as of right now. Like I don't want anybody to get it twisted at all. That this is still a great game, a fantastic execution on what their vision is. All of the characters are super good. I think somebody summed it up, I think right before the game came out, where they said basically the whole thing is a road trip following around the hooded people to find Sephiroth. And that's like the whole game. And
Yeah.
I internalized a little bit of that, and at every turn, it's just proven right
Mhm.
because all it is like, okay, we're gonna go to this thing. There's gonna be some little silly shenanigans. Okay, time to move on because we saw the hooded guys start walking this way. All right, let's go follow that path. And it turns out, hey, look at this new place. Hey, look, it's somebody that Barrett knows from the past. What's that about? Okay, backstory, and now let's move on to the next place.
It's a road trip.
And
It's a literal road
it
trip.
is. And I think I part of me really likes that, but part of me feels like I'm waiting for the shoe to drop where like every once in a while you get 2 seconds of Sephiroth going, "Hoo hoo hoo, I'm going to mess with your mind," and then that's it. And all of it almost feels like the same issue that I had with God of War 2018, where you have the objective sort of,
Mhm.
but all of what you're doing is just kind of like little things on the way that sometimes don't really lead you towards the actual plot. Sometimes they do. And it's just good. It's a good thing that I love the characters and that I enjoy the gameplay. Because I think if this was any other series and in any other context, I probably would not be enjoying myself as much.
Yeah, here's what's ironic is that the reason why they added the hooded guys was to give more reasons for why you're going to like this other place
Exactly.
because the
That's
original
one.
didn't have them.
Uh-huh, because you
Yeah.
just wander from place to place, and I
Mhm.
hated it. I was running around like, where do I go? What do I do? How do I get to the next part of the
Ironically,
story?
like the order of operations so far has been like the exact same order as it was in the original,
Yep.
and you only got to see hooded parts, hooded people when you go back to the place from the flashback, back in like the original game.
Okay.
So yeah, so they have added more kind of like giving more of a reason to give more of like the inciting event is obviously like you have to like it was set up at the end of last game. It's like you find out about Sephiroth. Sephiroth wants to bring back Genova, wants to destroy things. He's like trying to look for the promised land, or so people think. So that's kind of like what's guiding you. And they've added a few things to kind of make that journey a little bit more directed. And
Yeah.
I can also kind of agree. Like, had the writing not been as strong as it is, or the combat as deep and varied as it is with like the different party members and the activities that you do with the world, with the side quests that are like so intrinsically tied to your party members and helps build them up. You learn more about them, like you connect more with them on a relationship level. The amount of mini games that you have that adds so much variety to the things that you're doing, from like a card game to like racing and shooting stuff. Like what chapter are you on?
7.
You haven't even gotten
Um,
to the golden saucer yet. Just to
I
kind of give you
haven't.
just to kind of give you an
It,
idea. Uh,
I think that's another thing though, because it's so focused on these random mini games that it just I think I'm part of the problem because I want to get to like other crazy things that Shinra's doing, and I almost wish that like the Turks showed up more often and like there was more of a presence of both like Shinra actually being around and like all of the rest of the stuff because
what
as
are
of
you
right
doing?
now,
What are you doing right now in chapter 7? Just
um I'm
because that's
I
Costa
helped
del
the
Sol.
doctor.
Hmm.
No. Chapter 7 is after Costa del
Oh yeah,
Sol.
yes, because that's
Um,
just outside Costa del Sol. So you
right.
already saw that. You already saw the Turks again. Then
Yep.
you fought
So
the.
like that was the part I was excited for because I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh shoot, they're back. Let's go." And it was like one fight and that was it. And I was like, "Oh, come on, guys. Like what's the deal? Like they're all focused on like we got to get Aerith back and all they'll do is like drop an enemy and run away." And I was like, Is this it, guys? We're
Yeah,
not going to have another cool fight or something?"
they'll be back
Um
relatively
I
soon.
know,
Where you are.
but
So
like that I think that's because my high points for remake were all of the really cool boss fights and like all of the set pieces and there's so few of them.
and you're not doing chattily stuff, right?
No.
That's why. I have fought so many bosses just with the
No.
chattily stuff.
So like the
So
boss fights for like the straight up fight is boring. What I like is like the story related fights,
okay.
like the Rufus Shinra,
Mm-hmm.
the Reno and Rude, the
Mm-hmm.
dropping of the sector, like all that stuff where it's related to everything else. Like, I'm thinking of remake when you're running up the tower, you're
Mm-hmm.
fighting the Shinra soldiers trying to race against the clock to try to stop the sector from dropping. That stuff is tense. I love it. And we just get so few of that because there's so much downtime that is great, but also it's just so much of it that sometimes I just wish we could like, all right, let's get to the next cool thing that's going on.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get where you're coming from, because you're coming to this from a plot reason. I'm coming through it as both the plot and living through the world, which is kind of like where I've been
yeah,
just like enjoying this. Like, I stay in all the places until it's 100% done. Like, it's so weird that this like structurally, there's no ways about it. They definitely copied a Ubisoft game, even down to like the towers and all of that. But it also has kind of like that Ghost of Tsushima diegetic like design to its world, where you don't even have to do the towers to really explore around. And sometimes just fine by sometimes the chocobo coming in, or some of the birds that guide you to specific places, or even the live stream kind of like guiding you. Sometimes like it pops up kind of like something that if you follow it, it also guides you to specific areas. And it is like, I realize that the Ubisoft formula is not the problem, is how it's implemented and how fun is the underlying game that allows you to like engage with that formula. Because like I was thinking about it, it's like, you played on Spider-Man 2, I did too. That's also a Ubisoft game, like checklist open world style thing. And the reason why I did it is because just the act of playing Spider-Man, which funny I mentioned because the New Game Plus went out today, and
just drop.
it just dropped, and I got to like just try it a little bit just too early. And I needed to see the plays that broke last time I played, what got fixed, and it did. So I was like, yes. So it's like this might be the silver bullet that fix what ailed this thing for me. But it's like,
I think that's another good example where the traversal and the action is what carried me through Spider-Man, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The action is great as long as I'm making sure to switch between all of the characters.
Yeah, you cannot just switch being with one. Yeah.
If you stick with one, you're going to be miserable because, I mean, especially with Cloud being literally the most boring character to play as in the character, all of them. I mean, even Barrett is kind of entertaining with like the way you balance his shooting, his charge move, reload, and then anything else he's got. But Cloud is like, you just mash square, sometimes you hit the triangle button, you hold the square button to do your little move. Like, I've got a system for it, and then like as soon as you get that, you hit ability, Braver does the most damage, reset.
Do you still use Braver? I like using the Thunder and Fire Sword that lifts everyone, does like the 2 slashes of it.
That's the most flashy, and if I can get away with it, I'll do that one. But some of them, if I'm not sure what they're weak to, I'm not going to waste it on them until I can also use Assess. And then I try to remember like which thing was kind of weak to something else. So right now I've only got the Firebolt. I don't have the other one yet because so far I only have 3 swords.
Yeah, there's the Disorder, which I think it's a sword that you missed. Because I remember you saying that you missed the sword.
At first, turns out I did have it. That's why I couldn't find it in the shop, is because it gave it to me after my point of that, but I didn't have Cloud as accessible because I was doing the Costa del Sol part.
Yeah, so
with
it didn't
Aerith and Tifa.
Yeah,
so I didn't notice that I had already picked it up, and then when I went back, I was like, "Oh shoot, I already had it." So then I've been using that since.
Yeah, that one has the
Disorder. A lot of magic.
Yeah, that has the Disorder move, which is like you do a strike that puts you in the Punisher mode, and and you can. That was also in the original, in the remake. A lot of the abilities that you earn are basically you relearning a bunch of the stuff from remake, and that's the one area where I'm like, it's kind of rough experiencing remake first and then playing this, because this game just like automatically resets you. Like none of the items that you got like in remake came forward, so it's like you're kind of like relearning a bunch of stuff. And then there's also kind of like the I wouldn't call it problem, but kind of like the slight step backward to weapon upgrades that this game took, where it's like now everything has been consolidated upgrade wise to the folio, which is kind of like something that you go to like a town and find a person that has some books to upgrade stuff, or you sometimes find kind of like a book, how can I say it? A book machine next to like the vendors and the benches where you can upgrade some of your characters. They have consolidated everything so that the weapon upgrades just automatically upgrade, and then you have kind of like 1 or 2 passives that is gonna be more the more you keep leveling up, because this is a huge game. To do something like, for example, the Firebolt, the sword that gives you that Firebolt sword for Cloud, that's the one that also gives you faster ATV charge on movements.
Yeah.
And that's why I've stuck with that sword, because I'm like, now, unlike how I first played Remake the first time, it's like, now I understand how crucial it is for you to use your ATV moves, not just wailing. It's like, it's still like the synergy, pun intended, of wailing, 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 prepare your strong attacks, that then on top of that now builds the synergy moves that when you really master and you become intentional about building those synergy moves, when you are like with the enemies that are tankier and health and all that, when you pull those off, it's so damn satisfying.
Here's the
Especially if you
question then: what actually contributes to building the synergy meter?
just use ATV. Just use
That's
it.
it.
Yeah. When you use ATV, there's the ATV meter and there's tiny meters at the bottom. Every time you use
Yeah,
ATV,
I've
it
noticed
fills it
that.
up. So
I didn't realize that it one-to-one contributed to that. That
yeah,
makes more
it
sense.
contributes. Like if you assess, that's ATV. If you use
Right.
magic, that's ATV. It's just basically it's them giving a more direct control over the something that's similar to a limit break, but it's not the limit break, because the limit break is like that one fills up if you get damage. That's kind of like a the last ditch effort to try to do damage if you've been like hit so often during a fight. And synergy
That
moves are
makes
kind of like
sense.
just an extra move that you can do with your party members. Especially that's the synergy abilities, because then there's also the synergy moves that is holding R1, and if you have unlocked, then you press like the face buttons to do something that it's
That's
not
how it
tied.
did it.
Yeah.
Son of a gun. Because, like, they also explained that it was either L1 and a face button that you could do shortcuts for your abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, briefly they mentioned that you could do, like, those other moves that were sort of with another
Mm-hmm.
person, but not the synergy moves. And I never figured those out. So I've just been
Yeah.
playing without them.
Yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot. They have really added a lot of depth to the combat. Like there's so many like
They just need to
layers.
better explain it.
It's about paying good attention, because I didn't pay attention to a few stuff until I realized
Like I
like
tried to, but
yeah.
sometimes it's just hard to like understand what they're trying to explain until you try it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're just like, "Hey, this is a thing. Okay, bye." And I was like, "Well, where do I go through it?" I actually tried to go through the tutorial like messages in the settings, and there were so many of them I had no idea what it was even called to
Mm-hmm.
like know how to search it.
Yeah.
So it didn't go well for that. It's just one of those cases of not finding the way that they want you to play sometimes.
Yes, and also I realized, like, especially because you've been ignoring a bunch of the Chadley stuff, like me learning to use that came from doing a lot of his objectives of finding more enemies that are tankier, because that's where you find a bunch of those, and it's through the tanky enemies where the synergy abilities are like more useful. If it's just rank and file, you're gonna like beat like you're gonna like eliminate the health before you're even ready to do like a synergy attack. A bunch of the synergy attacks, you're gonna like find more use of them in some of the bosses. There's an upcoming one, not the one that you just fought, but there's another one with the Turks coming in chapter 8 with like a massive thing where you're gonna like make sure you do those. They're gonna help you. In fact, that's part of like what will pressure that enemy. Doing a bunch of like the synergy, because there's some enemies that will become pressured if you do a synergy attack first to get them to like the point where you get to stagger them. So eventually they're gonna throw enemies at you that gives more of a reason for you to engage with its systems, especially during the story, like because you're not like completing the entire world. Like I'm already getting to those. It's even getting some of the summons. I just got Alexander yesterday, which is the one for
Yeah.
he's like this
He's the
massive
giant
bro.
knight looking
Yeah.
dude. I got one of those shrines, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
to lower his strength
Yeah.
by one level. I've already gotten Titan,
Mm-hmm. You
but
didn't
I
get
haven't
Phoenix.
gotten any
You
of the
didn't get
others.
Phoenix, right?
Not yet.
Yeah, he was in Junon. So, and Junon was like so wild how like that was my favorite place to explore, because it was like there's obviously the under Junon area, and there's this entire other town at the other in the other side. Getting to the other town with like that. Do you play that side quest, the one with the dog, Salmon?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
dude, yeah.
and
We've now we're
yeah.
on the how good that one track goes.
Yeah, with the song. That song was like so hard for one of the what it's basically just just an escort mission. But again, kind of like this is the one area where I see it, because we were talking about like you thought like the highs of FF16 are higher, and I agree with that, because FF16 is aiming for more of a mythological epic scale kind of adventure with like the with what's focused. This is more Fellowship of the Ring. It feels like kind of it's like about like the journey to like going with a fellowship, on like
that's
a
good description.
on a grand adventure. So it's like FF16 is more of like a Greek myth, and it's like the heights of that game are about like the massive scope of the battles against the icons, the battles against the summon against summon battles and all that. So it's like that one is more designed to impress, and while Rebirth is more designed to be like a more even kill adventure, where it's more consistently engaging like from moment to moment. We talked about like the side quest quality of F16 was bad because it starts so bad. Eventually the side quests got good when they start like delving into actual characters, like the side quests that are about your partners. They do that here immediately. Almost every green like the green question exclamation point side quests are all tied to a character. And in the Salmon, for the one with Salmon, just in that road is like you learn stuff like why does Cloud always ask for $2,000 all the time, because his mom Claudia gave him $2,000 when he left to join the soldier program. Like Barrett's like father nature, like him like coming to terms that Marlene's gonna like grow up, and there's so many tiny little details with like all the different side quests that you can get with like all the different characters that enriches the world.
Whole thing shines, because that is exactly where I would say is the best part of all of this, is that each of those side quests, exactly like you said, it's focused specifically on a specific character, so there's always some kind of banter that can be had, there's some kind of focus around it, and that you always learn something more about each of the characters and what is so important to each of them. And it's always you're rewarded, whether it's stuff that was in the original that like you eventually kind of found a way through, or just something that makes perfect sense but you didn't really get the opportunity to go into that detail, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you play the original FF7, now it feels like you're playing the Cliff Notes version of that story, compared to like seeing it both in remake and rebirth, excluding the whispers thing or all like the added stuff that they added, because I definitely want to touch upon that. But it's like there's just some the camaraderie of like having a party. Now I kind of understand more like the criticism that FF16 like the party was just either Torgal and just one more person, and until like the very end where you could like eventually do enough side quests that Jill and Joshua were with you. Like and that you can take advantage of that with the DLC.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like
that's one reason why 16 had that. Like I was almost craving the fact that having Jill and Jonathan alongside you with Torgal, Joshua, that's what I meant. It's like having them with you is like the best part of that storyline, and it's almost a shame that it takes the entire game to get to that.
Yeah, and the DLC is already the first. You didn't play Echoes of the Fallen. I would say just wait until that Rising Tide launches sometime this spring, so you can maybe play both of them, and then you get like a serving. Yeah, get a serving of both of them, and be like, there's like now the also by the way, this is the first time in a Final Fantasy game where the entire party, more than 4 people, because obviously Final Fantasy 15, you always were with the buddies. Noctis and the 3 more. This is the first time where you can have up to 7 people like all running around together. It's like there's just something about like seeing your entire party together that adds to that fellowship feeling when they're all commenting on what's happening. Sometimes you see them briefly help you in some of the fights, or it's like even though you're not like in proper control of that it helps a lot, because it's like sometimes those little helps that they sometimes bring you can be pretty crucial, and you didn't realize that could happen, and just adds to that feeling that no other series does party systems like Final Fantasy. That was kind of like the whole idea. Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I loved that, especially I think the first time that I noticed it was against the giant snake, where you had like Barrett and Red 13 just kind of chilling in the background. He's like, and Red 13, I don't think he does much, but it's like the fact that like they're still there contributing just a little teensy bit of damage is kind of nice while you're in the middle of doing everything else for that. But like I was saying, like just all of the character interactions, every character is so well written. Every time Red 13 opens his mouth, it's either the edgiest thing you've ever seen or it's hilarious.
Like, everything with Red 13 at the boat. Oh my god. When they didn't want to let him do the Queen's Blood minigame, which is the card game that is so. Why is it so addicting? it can be so frustrating at times because it can be luck of the draw. Or like, what are your like starting cards? But it's so quick to restart something and be like, no, I don't like that roll. Restart. I don't like. Okay, I think I could do this one. And then when you nail it, and then you destroy the other, like your opponent. There's just something so addictive about like the minigame quality of this that I don't feel FF16 needed minigames because the tone was different. I also now understand why a lot of people miss having something else with that game other than just going through the story, doing side quests, fighting, and watching cutscenes. That was all that 16 was, and this game has like all of that plus more. There's just so much content in this one that, in a way, I feel like they justified the fact that all of this wasn't in remake 4 years ago. Like, it was like they were able to like section that off, kind of get to grips with their technology and kind of like their pipeline. That 3-4 years later, they were able to do like an almost Witcher 3 size open world, like seamless open world with this, like in almost record time. Obviously, with some technological drawbacks, you could say that that is like, for example, you have finally settled on the performance mode, right?
Yep.
Do you play it Do you play it in the TV also?
Yeah. And honestly, like, there's every once in a while I'll see something as I turn the camera doesn't move the right way a little bit, but it is not even really a factor for me.
Yeah, the thing with the performance mode is that this is almost borderline locked 60 compared to the performance mode of FF16, where the only time that it was smooth was while you were in combat, but when you were exploring, it was kind of like a jittery mess.
I do remember we talked about that.
Yeah, and in this one, it's smooth the entire time. The problem is that the visual quality like took a massive downturn in comparison to its graphics mode. That is like, you really like notice it if you flip between both. It'd be like, oh shit. Unlike in Remake, that playing in the graphics mode and playing in performance mode, the differences were there, but it still looks sharp enough in performance mode that you might as well play it there because it's like the combat just feels so much better to play. In this, the world they have built, especially like, with the exception of some like cliff sides that haven't rendered their textures, which was a problem from Remake back in 2020, which is so funny that their use of Unreal Engine 4 still gives them some slightly problematic texture loading here and there. And even, I don't know if you've noticed that it sometimes happens in cutscenes too. That you're seeing someone speak and then a wall's texture would like disappear and load in and out. Like, it's
Not
like
very often, honestly.
It's a few times, but I noticed it. The first time I noticed it was when you arrived to Under Junon, when you find the woman that tells you that, yeah, you're like, you guys are being hunted by Shinra, and she's like 500,000 in dev, and everything's like 500,000, like that scene.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That was the first time the texture of that I was like, ooh, it's like that got muddy out of a sudden, and it's now loading in. That's just kind of like in Texture World. The character models are so damn like detailed. Like the detail they were to do was all the character models, even just minor stuff. Like I can't wait for you to meet Dine.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like why
I'm pretty close to it. If I had to guess, I paused yesterday to do that side mission and ran around
with the doctor,
and I played way too much Helldivers. But I'm hoping to get some story progression in here soon.
Yeah,
and I want to eat crow, because I acknowledge how well they improved Yuffie.
Yeah.
Because I was talking smack at some point. I don't know if it was here or somewhere else, but I hate Yuffie usually. I do not like her. I think my first experience with her was in Kingdom Hearts 1, where she just berates you, does not help, and then disappears the entire rest of the game.
She doesn't quite berate you there. She's just kind of like a very ditzy girl, where she's annoying as Crisis Core. When you're doing the side quest.
So
that was her at her worst. And when you trying to recruit her in the original, going to Wutai where she steals everything from you, that's another really annoying part of her. That was like,
especially if you let her join, she'll actually steal it all, and that happened to me, and I wasn't prepared for any of that, and I hated it. I hated her.
Yeah, and the quest to try to get all of that is so annoying. I needed a guy to get all of that, because it's like when she steals everything, you're locked into trying to get all your stuff back, or you don't leave. You can't leave Wutai. So it's like the way they change her, that I think it's a lot to do both with writing, the tone of the game, and just how she comes off now, like with this version of the story, because like you end up not finishing her mission, but you played with her first there before like
I did acknowledge immediately both that she was much less annoying and a lot more of this like endearing
mhm.
Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece style
Yeah.
character, and that she played phenomenally
Mhm.
because just the
The shuriken.
using the
Mhm.
shuriken in general, then being able to throw it and then still like cast materia on the fly, and then the fact that I don't know if they changed it from in intergrade to this or not, if it was already like that, but that you can change the element of
That was
your
always there. Yeah, that
spell
was
attacks. Okay,
yeah, that was
because
there, and they
that's
brought it
really
in.
useful.
They brought it in, and I've used her a lot in some of the combat arena mini games, knowing like assessing, be like, ooh, this guy's a flamethrower guy, and I can't quite build my fire at strong. Let me start with the shurikens, and then when I build, I'm gonna switch it to fire shuriken. I'm gonna start wailing from like the like from far off, and it's been so helpful. She's so OP. She was OP already on intergrade, and
Oh yeah.
she's still OP here in Rebirth, and
She's
she.
like a mainstay character for me.
Mm,
Is Yuffie, Cloud, and Aerith for me right now? Because like Yuffie is like crazy DPS, Aerith
mm,
is like the support and also DPS,
mm.
and then Cloud is just does his thing.
Yeah, me instead of Aerith is Cloud, Tifa, and Yuffie, and I have given Tifa a couple support materia, but Tifa is just a tank. She was a tank in the original one, and
She
you have
was.
to
I used
yeah,
her a lot too in the remake, but for some reason I'm like trying to stick to like I'm trying to get used to Yuffie, and because I never got to play her in remake, so it
mm-hmm,
like feels like something really new.
mm-hmm.
And then also Aerith, I didn't play it much with her in the past, but now I'm starting to get like the feel.
Yeah. I mentioned that I felt that she was nerfed. I was so wrong. It just felt like that for me because you play with Aerith so late in the game again in remake because she joins halfway through the game in the chapter 8 of remake. Then obviously after a while she leaves. Then you get her back when you're like in the tail end, and she's already super OP there. I was like, no, you have to build towards that. But they made her as equally OP, and at times even more OP with some of the magic that you can earn because she gets so
Even
many
her
staffs. Yeah.
abilities, like her storm move, there's like a wind move that she
Mm-hmm.
has, and like it doesn't use any MP,
Mm-hmm.
yet she's casting this crazy tornado in the middle of a fight and
Yeah.
just ends it.
Yeah, that's the best addition they've not done because it's not just Aerith. A lot of characters you can earn them the abilities to do like elemental damage without wasting MP. So you can now have that added strategy. Be like, let me try the one that doesn't use magic. Let's see if it does enough damage. Oh, it pressures them. I'm gonna stick with this, and then I'm not be like, okay, I'm gonna use magic this time. But it allows you to get the elemental damage in with so many characters that you wouldn't think would have it, and it makes the combat just that much more dynamic to the point that I'm really I love the combat from FS16, specifically the wailing around and all that, like because it's just Devil May Cry. There's just something
Yeah.
satisfying about
There's
that.
so much depth to that because you're
Yeah,
only focused on one character for it.
yeah. I'm really surprised how much the kits for almost every character of Rebirth feel. That everyone has their specific quirks. Like the Red 13 is really, really satisfying to learn the his parry attack to fill up his vengeance meter, that then like just it can just like completely wipe the ass of everyone like with his like circular attack and then going out, especially because he doesn't have inherent like air moves like other like for example with Tifa you need to earn a gale wind thing to bring her up with an ATV so she can be like wailing enemies in the sky. Whereas like Yuffie and Cloud, like they are the ones that have inherent built to their kit a way to go up to the sky and just keep wailing on enemies, both in ATV and just like the move. Like Cloud, roll, hold square, go up. With Yuffie, triangle, send the shuriken. If it's up, press the triangle again, and she teleports. Like me, like if she was freaking Nero from DMC. Like when you have like the arm that takes you in, that's kind of how that shuriken feels. So it's like there's
Yeah.
so much different like permutations to a combat that makes it like so satisfying to just constantly engage in. And now I understand when people say that, and I do agree that I feel like for Final Fantasy the franchise, this feels like the perfect like way to move forward because it scratches the issue for people that love brawling while also adding that extra level of a strategy. to like to the combat scenarios, where that's still so key to the Final Fantasy as a franchise. I learned that playing 1, 4, and 6 last year. How important like the character combinations, like the move combinations you have with them, like how that is the key to success. And they're really nailing that. I think more than anything, I think why this is resonating even more with me than it even did you while I'm going through the open world is like I'm seeing the realization of the overworlds of 1, 4, and 6 that I saw now kind of like in high fidelity. Kind of like that idea has been like realized, and there's just something really special about it that even though its structure is very like by the numbers Ubisoft style, is like again like now I realize as long as the underlying content is like solid, like that formula still can work. And also the fact that not everything is always in the map. You still have to explore. So it's like there's like doing the towers doesn't unlock the map. Just opens a few icons. Like tell you, yeah, there may be some battles we may go over there, but we're not gonna tell you what's there. Okay, I'm gonna go there. Frick, it's Quetzalcoatl. Like this is big bird boss.
Yep.
So
I actually only found that because of a side quest. But because of the intel thing that I was able to do, which it like gives you information on like what kind of monsters you got in the area, which I thought was kind of interesting because essentially all of the little collectathon things that you got to do in the map are giving you some kind of intel about some kind of like either the animals, the materials,
the world
the
around
itself, which was kind of nice to kind of blend that together because it actually, for once, I did not just look up a video on where the location was. I was just like, okay, well, I just gonna go find the enemy intel on this thing, and sure enough, it took me like 10 minutes, found the place, got it, beat the crap out of it, and I was like, all right, victory, look at that.
Yeah, and I think it was because you needed something from Quetzalcoatl for the quest, for the windmill, and this also does the thing that I love from like I think Witcher also had this, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey also had this, that if you do something beforehand, like the game also acknowledges that you already did that, so it's kind of like that's already like, oh wait, no, you already have that, just build the thing. So it's like that's always so satisfying when you feel like the exploring the world pays off, like even within the world, like it also justifies it. And the game only has 14 chapters, so it has 4 less chapters than Remake. I look at my hour count and I'm like, I don't mind, because you're basically already
some of those chapters were such filler in Remake that it should have been probably like 12-ish chapters anyway. But this one it really earns the
length,
its space, the length, because how much actual material is there.
And also like, just like seeing someone like the only area for me that felt a little quote unquote okay, this is a little bit more extended than what I remember, was the Mithril Cave early on, that when you fight the Turks the first time, like you don't fight them in the original, you just meet them and then they leave, and the exit of the Mithril Caves is just right there. In that one, like after you fight them, you all fall down a hole. In that one, so it's like, oh, okay, you're kind of like extended here. But Remake had a lot of those parts, like the road to the second reactor in Remake. If you remember, it was like 3 chapters worth of like story in that one, that even you have to go through like the part beneath, like the scaffolding that felt like it was freaking Bespin in Remake. That was like 3 stories and all that, just to try to get to the second reactor, which is where Cloud falls and meets Aerith. So it's like me playing the original finally, like, and remembering that I'm playing a lot of Remake. I'm like, I'm really feeling the ways that some of these sections are kind of like a little stretched, but they needed to do that because they were trying to justify a full game. But so far, everything feels right. And like, at least story-wise, like, you're not in Costa del Sol that long. It feels like you're there enough to kind of like play around and enjoy what's there. You're not in Junon, like you're in Junon enough time, and then obviously you can extend your time with the side quest. The silliness of Final Fantasy VII has like remained intact with Rebirth, and that has been the thing that has made me so happy. The dolphin thing had me grinning. I was like, I cannot believe they made the dolphin work. I cannot believe how incredible the parade scene was. And I was able to get the turn because I knew you did it. I did it at the harder difficulty with the. I looked it up, but trying to get that mini game and getting it perfectly was like so tense. but also like so epic getting it, and it was so
It's
well produced.
entirely just because of the camera movements.
Hmm.
They would like shift, and I'm like, where is the cursor? Where is it going? And I had so much trouble like following along with that sometimes, and also Elizabeth was sitting right next to me, so I'm like anxious about getting it right at the same time. And so like if I'd played it out and just kind of rolled with it, it probably would have been fine. But every time I would make like one or two mistakes, I would just reset it.
Hmm.
The problem is that the the first performance is it felt longer than the other two,
Hmm.
and I would quit before that was done, so it wouldn't give me a checkpoint. So I had
Ah.
to redo all of that part again, and it was driving me crazy. But yeah, in hindsight, it probably could wasn't going to be as hard as it could have been,
Hmm.
and I made it harder than it needed to be.
Yeah, but it made it so much more satisfying to nail it. And how
Oh
like
yeah.
that they built it within like the world. How did they built it with your meeting with Rufus Jr. I kind of want to see what a messed up version of of that level could be. Kind of one that completely messes up the parade.
Oh,
I would love to see how they like switch it
part
around
of me
because
wonders if they even like do something like that, because it makes me think the presidential commendation is given to you regardless of how poorly you do.
mhm, yeah.
It's just the other one that can change. So that means you still go up to see Rufus and the whole thing plays out
Mhm.
as it should. Um, but yeah, it does make me wonder, like, can you really mess it up, or do they have
Ah,
safeguards to kind of protect
yeah.
you?
Already, I know that because this game has that social link system and has the date system also, depending on like who you want to like date in this one, depending on what your relationship is. I know you're doing Aerith. I'm doing Tifa.
I'm
Uh,
trying to do Aerith, and yet somehow Tifa is one notch
it's one
above
not sure
Aerith
about
right now, and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah, be
I've gone
careful. Yeah.
back to do the side missions.
Uh,
I've focused on Aerith only, and yet I think just the stuff that I say to Tifa has somehow put me ahead
yeah.
with
You have
her,
to.
even though I've
Yeah.
done the right stuff for all of it.
Yeah, yeah. The dialogue in particular, the when there's like three
Yeah,
options that you can say. That's the one that's gonna like raise it up a lot.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
I
tried to do
intend.
the middle option, and it turns out like, oh, that was
It
exactly
changes.
what she
It
wanted to hear.
changes.
Son of a
No,
gun.
it changes. Like sometimes like it could be like because it's in three. It can be sometimes the
Yep.
one in this one that be the right option. Sometimes the one at the
Right.
bottom. So it's not like
I mean, like the middle, like what I think she's going to be more neutral. Like I'm not
uh
rude, but I'm not picking what I think is actually the choice.
mm,
So it just happens to mess me up here
yeah.
and there.
I feel it's easier to know which are the ones to like downplay Aerith a little bit more. Like I told her that I don't remember where we met or something like that. That helped kind of keep her
Oh
at bay.
yeah.
Yeah, keep her at bay. Apparently, like there's enough content from Yuffie onward that you can even get to date her. Like
Yep.
you can even get to that point. So it's like and I already got some of the fruits of my labors in chapter 8, but I heard that chapter 12 is where the date culminates. Like you can see like
Funny detail though, Yuffie's only 16 in
yeah.
Rebirth, so you're
Yeah,
getting put on a list if you
I know.
go for her.
No, I already committed to Tifa. I'm gonna do
I know
Tifa.
you did. I'm saying anybody else
Anyway,
that goes after Yuffie, I'm watching you.
yeah, we're gonna have the ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
We got him.
I love that. But and just real quick, Paul, like,
Yeah,
how many times have you seen Sack so far?
twice.
Twice. Yeah.
And after the first time, the second one was a little underwhelming and very
Mhm.
short. So I'm a little displeased by how little he's being shown.
Yeah.
But I know they're building to something.
They totally are, and it's like I can't wait for them to really explain exactly like what's happening in his side because it's
At this
like
point, I just want to know more than anything else what the deal is.
yeah because I thought the first thing I thought was alternate timeline initially,
Yeah.
but if you listen to the newscast at when he's like carrying Cloud at the beginning of the game, and then you get to listen to like a radio newscast while you're in calm, it's the exact same one, same wording and all that. I feel like my theory right now is that I feel like it's not just an alternate timeline, it's like an alternate universe that has kind of seeped into where you currently are because Elmira still has Marlene with her.
Right.
Yeah, Biggs is alive. So it's like and that was like shown at the end of like a remake. And that was like and that didn't seem like an alternate timeline as much as like something that was like in between here. So I feel that there's like are there two clouds? Are there two like arids or something like that, like happening at the same time? Like, always something peculiar with what's happening in the sky. There's kind of like this rupture happening that is. I'm really really curious, especially because thank you IGN for the tweeting this. I know what the ending of this thing is. I don't know what happens. I just know like what is the event that's gonna conclude Rebirth. So that makes me more curious now. And just as a real quick, the developers did say that they feel they have made all the important development they needed to make with Rebirth, so Part 3 may come in quicker. That they've
That's
already
what I heard.
yeah.
Like they already laid the groundwork so that whatever the sequel is going to be is like even less time. Hopefully, I'm all up for that
And
because
there's
I need to know how it concludes.
yes, and also them like proving the example of like the reason why this game came out this quick, this size. This could have been a game if they had told me they worked on this for like 7 years, I would believe them. Because that's kind of like the expectation. The fact that they did it in 3 to 4 and it's so expansive and seamless. You can go from like one town to the next with no loading. It's just there without kind of like the fade ins. Even FF16, you had to fade in and out of some areas. Even though it was kind of interconnected, there were like some areas that they were segmenting off. It's like that is so few and far between in this game that I'm like, that's actually pretty impressive. Like, all things considered, even with the sacrifices they had to make to performance mode, which they're gonna patch it already. That was announced that they're taking to heart the feedback that image quality takes too much of a dip, even though performance is actually pretty perfect. In my opinion, it was like, even with those concessions, I'm like, I'm glad we got this in 3 years, because it's technically 4 years since Remake, but they worked on Integrate also. They worked on Integrate first and then jumped to this. So it was technically 3 years. So there is a chance by 2027, God willing, let's say, by the anniversary, the 40th anniversary of this thing, they could complete the story if everything lines up with like this timeline. So, and then like we know that character-wise, they got everyone. They just have to give a kit to Sid and Vincent that they confirm that they're in this game, but you won't be able to play them.
Right.
Understanding when Red 13 came in that game, apparently they're gonna come in the last few chapters. I get why there's no kit for them. They're gonna save that. Sense. Yeah, they're gonna save for that. So it's like they only have to build kits for 2 more characters. They have to build 2 kits for Red 13 and Kate Sith. I already got Kate Sith. He's weird to play as, I tell you. Really weird.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
because he was really weird to play as in the original too.
Yeah, they brought his eccentricities, but there's something kind of OP if you learn it, but he has more of a learning curve with that one. That I'm like, okay, I had to build up the ATV to bring in his Moogle. He can ride the Moogle. There's a move to separate him from his Moogle and tag team with his Moogle. You can like jump on top of his Moogle again and do like a drop kick. So there's so much like layers to him that I'm like, I wonder if I'm already so set on my Tifa and Yuffie build. So it's like I do wonder though. There's like some mini games for combat that you have to like separate 2 teams. That round 1 is gonna be done with one team, and the other one is gonna be done with the other team. So it's like they're already building ways for you to like play with everyone. So, but overall, like I am so glad that this game is hitting for me. Like how I wish. Obviously, I'm loving it way more than you, but to me, that's still a win that you like, because you were really like in the opposite way. Like as I was kind of like not letting myself get excited for Ragnarok, you were also kind of similar with Rebirth. That every new stuff was happening.
I wasn't letting myself get too excited about it, even though it was my most anticipated.
Yeah.
I think that I'm glad that I held back my extreme excitement. Like there was moments that I still really want to know what happens in the story. I hope that I survive to get to the plot events. But at the same time, like I know that there's other games that I at this point think I'm gonna enjoy more than Rebirth.
Helldivers
is a little sad, but at the same time, it's like, well, I guess it's a good thing, because I mean, look at what we've been seeing about Dragon's Dogma 2. About everything and what that's going to be like, and all of these other games that are coming out this year.
I feel just based on the things that I've been seeing and reading and hearing about Dragon's Dogma 2, that's like that's probably gonna be the big one this year. So it's like
I can already see like all of the YouTubers are going to be making builds and like this is what the best class is, or this is where you can find this new thing. And honestly, there's a part of me that loves that little side of it where everyone gets so excited you just eat up every part of whatever the game has to offer.
And here's what my thing, like, yes, Rebirth was my most anticipated game, like coming into this year. I'm glad it's living up to my excitement. I love that. I love nothing more than a surprise. A surprise is even better. That's why, like, you saying that you were still playing Helldivers 2 doesn't surprise me in the slightest. We were not even smelling that game when we were talking anticipated. Remember? It was like, so that is what makes the medium even more exciting. To me, I'm glad that a game can live up to the hype. I'm glad Rebirth is living up to the hype because it's been one of the most fun I've had with a game this generation. There's also something to be said about a game that sneaks up on you. You know what game was that for me in PS3? Uncharted 2. Yeah. I remembered what that feeling was. I was not hyped for that game, especially because the first game was okay. I was like, yeah, this was fine. This is not that great. I mean, this is not like I feel I played way better games than Uncharted 1. And I played that thing at launch, and then look what happened with Uncharted 2. It was like that ate it to its benefit. Then Uncharted 3, me going to the hype didn't quite live up to that. Like, I'm glad that at least Rebirth, the hype has kind of lived up to it. I have my quibbles with it. Like, to me, this is not a 10 out of 10 video game, but it's easy 9.95 for me. I'm also doing the review for this. It's weird because I kind of like don't want to wait too long to do the review because the closer you are to launch, you do better numbers. But I'm like, I want to savor this. Like, because after...
good for you, because in the end, it's going to be about your enjoyment of it. So... That's it.
And I want to savor it, especially because not being embargoed by it. I've been like, yeah, it's like I get to like take my time, kind of like I did with 16. I took my time. I got to see a lot of that game through, and I feel like because of seeing a lot of that through, compared to a lot of the people in the early reviews that I heard didn't do side quests. They did the early ones, and they were like, these side quests are bad. I'm bounced. A lot of the more negative reviews of 16, like skill ups, he was the one that didn't engage in the side stuff, and I'm like, I get it, and that's still so sad because I did engage in that, and eventually like. Those cycles what made the ending of that game feel more resonant to me. I don't know, like I don't know if Rebirth is gonna resonate with me emotionally like that one did, but it's aiming at different stuff. But it's been resonating with me in other different stuff that I've also hit. Like I tell you, like I can't wait for you to see the Barrett dying sequence.
Yeah.
Like it's like they completely reworked. The idea is still the same, like what dying is, but
I still remember that that scene quite a lot with Barrett running around and like holding on to his buddy and then getting his arm just shot off. So like I have no idea what's gonna happen or how it's gonna look, but I'm excited.
I'll say this: there's like something in that sequence that reminded me of the ending of Crisis Core. You'll see it. So I was like, they just introduced this guy and they already got me in feels. Wow. It's like this is like Final Fantasy's expert. They're experts at doing that. But enough of that. Like we'll see if we do a special episode for this one, like a spoiler cast, like we did.
Once we're both done with it, that's going to be a very interesting time.
Yeah, based on where you are, I feel by the time you come back, maybe we can kind of like record that. So we'll definitely see, and I just can't wait to see where they leave us off. Like I just can't wait. So
definitely.
Enough of that, Paul. We got a few news to go through. Press X.
For some news.
Story number 1. Now, this concludes the award season for 2023, Paul. Story by Game Informer. Here are the nominees for the 20th Annual BAFTA Games Awards, story by Marcus Stewart. The 20th BAFTA Games Awards, this is the British Association for Arts or something like that.
It's much more prestigious than some others.
Yes, DICE and this one are like super, like, if we want to talk about prestigious kind of awards, this would be the ones. The BAFTA Games Awards take place on Thursday, April 11th, streaming live on BAFTA's YouTube and Twitch channels from Queen Elizabeth's Hall in London, starting at 7 p.m. BST, 11 a.m. PT, 2 p.m. ET. This spin-off of the prestigious Film TV Awards show celebrates 40 games released in 2023, boasting an outstanding level of creative excellence. The full list of categories and nominees have been revealed. Baldur's Gate 3 leads the pack with 10 nominations, though Marvel, Spider-Man 2, and Alan Wake 2 aren't far behind with 9 and 8 nominations, respectively. Winners are decided by BAFTA's global membership comprised of experienced minds in the games industry. The EE Player's Choice Award is the only category open to public, which you can do here. So there's only one category on votes. This is a panel, not journalists, not like this is a kind of like a legit jury of a lot of people that votes on this thing. So I'm gonna read through this real quick. Best game: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Dave the Diver, Tears of the Kingdom, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Mario Wonder. Animation: Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Hogwarts Legacy, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and Mario Wonder. Artistic achievement: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cocoon, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush. Audio achievement: Alan Wake 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Hi-Fi Rush, Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man 2, and Jedi Survivor. British game: Cassette Beasts, Dead Island 2, Disney Illusion Island, Football Manager 2024, Viewfinder, and Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realm of Ruin. It's so funny that them being a British conglomerate is like, oh, we gotta celebrate like games from our turf. Debut game: Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Stray Gods, a role-playing musical, Venba, and Viewfinder. Evolving game: Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Forza Horizon 5, Genshin Impact, and No Man's Sky. Family: Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Disney Illusion Island, Hi-Fi Rush, Hogwarts Legacy, and Mario Wonder. Game: Beyond Entertainment, Chance of Sonar, Goodbye Volcano High, Tachia, Terra Nil, and Thirsty Suitors. Game design: Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man 2, Viewfinder, question mark on Spider-Man 2 on that one. Multiplayer: Baldur's Gate 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Party Animals, and Mario Wonder. Music: I got a bone to pick here. Alan Wake 2, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man 2, and Jedi Survivor. Which one's missing, Paul?
Yeah, something doesn't seem right with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Narrative: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Dredge, Final Fantasy 16, Tears of the Kingdom, and Jedi Survivor. New intellectual property: Chance of Sonar, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Hi-Fi Rush, Justin Viewfinder. Performer in a leading role: Amelia Tyler as narrator, Baldur's Gate 3, Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis in Jedi Survivor, Natty Jeter as Miles Morales in Spider-Man 2, Neil Newborn as Asterion in Baldur's Gate 3, Samantha Biard as Kalak in Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2. Performer in a supporting role: Andrew Winshot as Raphael in Baldur's Gate 3, Deborah Wilson as Siri Jonda in Jedi Survivor, Ralph Ineson as Sidolphus Sid Telemont in Final Fantasy 16, Sam Lake as Alex Casey in Alan Wake 2, which it's so funny. Sam Lake doesn't give the voice to Alex Casey. That was the actor from that was the actor for Alan Wake, from Max Payne, who passed away. By the way.
Oh shoot! So he didn't voice?
No, yeah, Sam Lake. It was like the voice of Max Payne. Is it was someone McCaffrey. A dude named McCaffrey. He died of cancer. That's unfortunately. Crazy. Yeah. Huh. You wouldn't think, right? Because it's like so well performed. It was always like the voice, the face of Sam Lake, and the voice of this McCaffrey dude. So I guess Sam Lake is gonna like be there as kind of like representing him in a way. So it's just so weird. But Tony Todd as Venom in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Tracy Wilds as Jaheira, Baldur's Gate 3. Technical achievement: Alan Wake 2, Final Fantasy 16, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Tears of the Kingdom, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Starfield. EE Player's Choice. So this is the Player's Choice. This is the one that people can vote on: Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk, Fortnite, Tears of the Kingdom, Lethal Company, and Spider-Man 2. Lethal Company was like a very late big multiplayer from last year.
Saw that one coming, that's for sure.
Okay, BAFTA jurors, you're coming from the congregation here because you're about to be. How in the hell is Soken not nominated for music?
Final Fantasy 16 snubbed like that.
Yeah.
That's one of the examples. I would say 7 Remake has done, or Rebirth, excuse me, has done a great job, but freaking 16's orchestral crazy music just has me working out to it like crazy, and it is Rebirth soundtrack is phenomenal, but the Soken one is like a different. That soundtrack's Nirvana. It's another level. It's another level. It's like that's the one area where I'm glad he won it at the Game Awards, but
why is Spider-Man 2 here? Like, I'm sorry, it's like that. It's just the same music. And why is Assassin's Creed Mirage here also music? That's like weird. That felt like, let's try to give that game something. Which, hey, Mirage was a good game and it was a big seller. So, and back from a technical hiccup thanks to my internet. So it's like I would say like seeing a lot other than that Soken snub for that one, and also the fact that Ben Starr's not there in the in leading role. The fact that they had 2 for Spider-Man, I'm like, really? It's like, yeah, it's like, I will say,
I do love Alan Wake, but also I'm starting to think that it might be a little overly celebrated.
In some spaces, in some spaces, yeah. So it's like, yeah, like for example, the Sam Lake one, if they want to give it to the McCaffrey guy, like that one ends up winning, I'm like, I would get it. That's kind of like a posthumous thing, kind of like a Heath Ledger. But
I was gonna say, I guess what you should do is still nominate the person itself, even if he's passed, and then you let like Sam Lake come and take the award for him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
For best game though, I'm glad Resident Evil 4 is not there. I would rather Dave the Diver be like, because this is the exact same list as the Game Awards. So it's like Resident Evil 4 was the one that I was like, I love that game, but it was like I wouldn't have put it up there. Even as excellent as that game is, it would have been there in a year like 2019, like especially when the picks were like more slim pickings. You need to fill it up. It's like I feel like Dave the Diver at least gets that, and we'll get to play on PlayStation if we want now that it's coming out this year. So I'm not too mad about like this. This one is that those were just the only ones that it's not bad. I would say like with thankfully for Insomniac, DICE was good to them because they were like so snubbed in general back in December. That DICE really like came through it, even though there were some wins that were like, they give this best new character to Miles Morales over Asterion. Like there were
especially because like Miles Morales isn't even new.
Exactly. Yeah, so it was like there were a few wins that to me felt like, especially because DICE is voted by fellow developers. Those wins to me, I'm sorry, felt like, we're sorry you got hacked. Let us give you like something good.
It
like,
did feel like a little bit like that. Yeah. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. Even though there are a few that I'm like technical achievement, I'm like technically I feel like Zelda's more of a technical achievement for me with what that thing did and such limited hardware. Though the fast travel system for Spider-Man 2, I have to give it its flowers. It's like it's so like that's actually impressive how it just zooms into a map like so quick. It also made me wonder if that was the reason why that game was breaking for so many of us. Like, but I want to, to not go on a diatribe, I'm glad that patch is there. I did try the part that I told you that made me rage the time I revisited. That's been cleaned. I'm like, okay, that gives me hope. I can't wait to replay this game when I'm done with Rebirth. It's a short game. I don't have to like platinum it, so I feel like to try to experience a bunch of stuff. I just want to see the first MJ part. Remember I sent you a video that the guards were like in T-pose, and I was like walking in front, and I was like, what the heck happened here? So yeah, so
I hope it goes well this time. Now that they've kind of shifted things around and that it's maybe a little more stable.
Yeah, and playing the early parts, because they played the Sandman part like with the unlocked powers, it had the ultimate difficulty. I'm like, if this was at the launch, can you imagine if this was at launch when we were still kind of high on that game? And it would have been felt higher about it.
Very different kind of talk.
Yeah, because it's like that's why like that devolved to. I liked it as an honorable mention, but also put it in the most disappointing category for me that year, because it's like it let me sift through and remember, God, why did that game break for me so much? It's like, why are they delaying New Game Plus? Why did this game have to cause them? It's like it was just a pile-on for me that I'm like, had I been able to keep playing it, because reminding her, I was like, God, the combat of this game is so much fun. There's so much fun, especially having all of that unlocked, like all the gadgets unlocked, like your normal web already has the impact web closed, so it's like everything together just feels so nice.
It feels so different. Man, I love just I'm
it's tempting
right now.
Yeah, it's tempting. It's tempting to just go on and play it, because I was like, for all I crapped on that game for specific reasons, like it's still like when I see some of the nominations, I'm like, it had something, and I'm glad at least they got something from DICE and Sony, because at least they had never won at DICE, never. So that was big for that studio. So even though, again, it feels like it's the asterisk. There's like a tiny bit of an asterisk. It'd be like, because if they win a lot here, I would feel more respectful, like even more respect for their wins, because BAFTA is completely different. They don't care if you got hacked. They care more about the art. So, and I feel 16 has some good nominations here. So good. So let's move to some good news real quick, because it's been a really awful time in the gaming industry, Paul, with so many layoffs and like horrible stuff. But guess what? Capcom is not following suit. Story by Wesley LeBlanc, story number 2. Amid industry-wide layoffs, Capcom is increasing starting salary in Japan by more than 25%. Amid industry-wide layoffs that have already affected more than 6,700 people in 2024 alone, on top of 10,000 laid off in the games industry last year, Capcom has announced it is increasing its starting salary in Japan by more than 25%. Plus, more already working at the company behind games like Street Fighter VI, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Resident Evil franchise will be getting an increase in their salaries as well. This news comes of the way of Video Games Chronicle, which reports that the existing pay for new graduate hires is around $1,560 per month, but starting in Capcom's 25 fiscal year, that will change to around $2,000 a month, representing a more than 25% jump in pay. Existing salaries will be bumped up by more than 5% on average in Capcom's 2024 fiscal year, according to BGC. And current employees will also get a one-time special payment as an investment in the people who support the future of the company. We heard from...
They said that's $2,000 a month?
A month, yeah.
Because that is... Oh my gosh, that's still so low.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
It is only $24,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
That is...
They're also in yen. So in Japan, remember?
Yeah,
yeah.
Like the cost of living is so much lower. It just that was more like my reaction to how much more expensive it is to live here
in America. Yeah,
like I at my company actually we employ like 3 or 4 people that live in the Philippines that work like remotely, and paying them what we call minimum wage gives them so much. Like they can live so comfortably and like support their parents and have children, and like they're just perfect at $7.50 an hour, and we're like dying from all of that. So I just had like a moment where I was like,
it just tells you how inflated life is in the US compared to other places. So,
such garbage.
But like and just to conclude, with the increase in starting salary, Capcom is pursuing further investment in human capital and the acquisition of exceptional talent. What did Naoki Yamaguchi from Square Enix say why Rebirth turned out how it did? They retained 90% of their talent from Remake, on top of the talent that they brought in. So it's like they prioritize like the knowledge of having a team that a team that absolutely knows their stuff, so you know like what like how the pipeline will be to do stuff. Instead, like the Western companies that are just laying everyone off to just appease shareholders, killing like a lot of institutional knowledge that they're letting go.
Yep.
Only for like a quick buck. And obviously, I was kind of what I was telling Sebastian. Obviously, like a lot of the layoffs are happening are kind of like readjustments to the marketplace due to like how much they overhired during 2020 and 2021, because everyone was oh my god, look how many games they're buying, look how much they're investing. Like, let's reinvest, even though that was just that was just kind of like a COVID inflated time where everyone was just locked in. So it's like obviously that's why they've been readjusting, but it was like they overhired too much and now they have to like cut back, and also inflation and the over expenditure that's happening with game development, where Spider-Man 2 sold 10 million copies, cost $385 million to make. They had to lay off people at Insomniac. It's like their most successful game ever. That is painful to hear. Like,
and can you imagine like the boardroom when they realized that they couldn't avoid it, and like all of the executive meddling that led to something like that, like just how depressing that must be for all of them is just I would not want to be in their situation.
Yeah, and Insomniac never had layoffs, at least like the extent that they had, because they were always kind of like a lean operation. That's why they were independent for so long. They didn't want to be bought by Sony. They only got bought by Sony when Spider-Man hit as big as it did for them, and gave them enough leverage to kind of like be like, okay, now we think we could put a really good price for effort. And then
This is what happened.
this is what happened. It's so sad, especially be like the Naughty Dog layoffs were like, look, they canceled the game. That was gonna happen. There was an influx of talent that they were gonna let go because that was like they had 3 projects in development. One got canned. It was like there was no way that was gonna be like all merged together. That was like mismanagement made sense in that one. But yeah, the Insomniac one is the one that pains me the most because no, I still like even with all my grievances that I've aired towards their latest game, no other company has carried the PS5 from first party like they did, and that's how they were treated. That pains me more, and that's why I was like, I'm no longer gonna shit talk them. Like I feel more because it's like it's just sad that led to that. But I'm glad that we're seeing the Japanese side of things being more responsible. There's just something, even though I know there's rules in place, kind of like laws, but it's like layoffs can still happen there. They're just like culture is more honorable there to try to like value their talent.
Yeah.
Yes.
They focus a lot more on like other alternatives before the layoffs even become a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I can see it because you just imagine it's like giving up, like you failed somehow,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to admit that.
Yeah. And look who is dominating now this year. All the big games, other than like Helldivers 2, like all Japanese. It's Japan supremacy. Freaking Unicorn Overlord reviews super well too. It's like
that is crazy to me. I can't believe it.
Yeah. So, final story before we move to quick headlines, Paul. Everything announced the Xbox partner preview that happened yesterday. So this is kind of like their version of a like Nintendo, even though they have the developer direct. This is kind of like a more quick fire for like their partners to showcase some stuff. That's how we saw the Metal Gear Solid gameplay that for Snake Eater. It showed up in one of these. Yeah, so
that showed up?
Yeah, in one of the Xbox things that happened last December. So I'm gonna read through this real quick. So a bunch of these are kind of like third-party stuff. So Unknown Nine Awakening. This is a supernatural third-person action game that is coming in summer 2024. You can go to IGN to read Travis Northup's first look preview of this thing. He told me he was writing it yesterday when we were playing Skull and Bones. Sleight of Hand, a third-person stealth-focused noir deck builder directly inspired by Metal Gear Solid, coming in 2025.
That one had me interested.
Yeah. The Alters, a body-duplicating sci-fi adventure in which a miner must survive a hostile planet by creating multiple versions of himself, coming to Game Pass later this year. And has a very interstellar feel to it. Mm-hmm. And prettier Starfield. They look so much better than Starfield.
I was going to say, it also reminded me a lot of Death Stranding in some ways.
Yes. Creatures of Ava, coming in 2024, co-written by famed scribe Rihanna Pratchett, the lead writer behind Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, among other titles. An empathy-driven action-adventure game about taming and protecting creatures to rescue a planet from life-threatening infection.
It's Pokemon Ranger for
for Xbox. A Chucky crossover for a Roblox game called Griefville, available immediately.
Weird.
Yeah. Roblox is so big and we don't even know like the extent of how big that thing is. The Sinking City 2, the sequel to the survival horror game with a Lovecraftian tint, coming in 2025. Stalker Legends of the Zone Trilogy, a remaster of the original Stalker trilogy that came to PC. It was ported by CSG Game World, the studio is making Stalker 2, and made it a console-friendly version, and as an Xbox One version via backwards compatibility. It's $40. I don't know if it's on Game Pass, it would be said here, so... But it's for $40 for people that want to at least see the Stalker series before they play Stalker 2 this year.
That's all 3, right?
Yeah, 3 of them. Yeah, $40 for all 3 of them.
Yeah,
I need to hear impressions, and I bet they're gonna be on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if I'm gonna jump for it because Stalker was never really my thing, but I'm glad that a lot of those people that have been clamoring for it for just literal decades are actually finally have it.
This will make experiencing Stalker 2 in console when it launches later this year on Xbox more legit, because it's like that would have been the first time they were experiencing it. So
forgot about that.
Monster Jam Showdown, a racing title of monster trucks, coming later in 2024.
That one reminded me a lot of the Nintendo 64 Hot Wheels game.
Okay. And also Destruction Derby. That was also in N64. I love that game. They announced the expansion pass for Persona 3 Reload, the hit remake for Persona 3. Which includes like a bunch of it's a 3 waves of DLC, some packs that includes like costumes from Persona 4 and 5 to be brought into the game, and episode Aegis, the It's basically the fan favorite epilogue of Persona 3 Fest that includes like a female character that people were lamenting was not here in this game. So this is basically
choose between the male and female character to play through the whole game.
Mm-hmm. So now they're gonna add that. So, and you liked Persona 3 Reloaded a lot also when you were playing it.
I did.
So.
While I was playing it, I could see if I didn't have all of this other stuff, I would have stuck through it and kept probably playing it because I really wanted to know the story.
Summer.
It was fun. I guess summer is going to be another thing, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that's going to start filling those slots pretty soon.
At least for early summer, I feel we already know what's there, so that's going to be a great time to catch up. The first Berserker Kazan, the single player action game set in the Dungeons and Fighters universe, and that was revealed at the at Jeff Keighley's Game Awards this last December, got another still looking solid. It's like a very quick Souls-like, it feels like. No release date yet, but
much more actiony.
Yeah, I like those kinds of games that are a little bit more actiony. Tales of Kanzera, the game from the guy that played Bayek from Assassin's Creed Origins, who made this game kind of like in honor of his dad. Got that was also revealed at the Game Awards. Got an extended gameplay trailer here. You were kind of talking before we started recording that it's sad that Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown already came out because this feels similar to that. Though I will say the art style of this thing feels more impressive, and at the very least, this is $18. It's cheaper, so that'd be cool. And Frostpunk 2, sequel to Frostpunk, coming July 25th. Final Fantasy 14 for Xbox finally has like an official release date. That thing has been on beta right now. So it gets a full release on March 21st, and if you're on Game Pass, they're gonna give you like a starter pack. I don't know exactly what the starter pack comes in, but I know there was controversy about the fact that you needed to buy the expansion on top of paying for Game Pass Ultimate to play online on top of paying their subscription fee. Maybe the starter pack will give them a few extra 3 months to start. Who knows? But they finally get that game, which has been big. This was going to be the summer that I was going to play it. So, to catch up on the DLC that I bought last year that screwed me. And finally, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. This was the Capcom game that was like samurai tinted that was revealed at the Xbox Showcase of 2023. They confirmed that it's both a blend of stylish swordplay with real-time strategy elements. At first I was like, man. But then I'm like, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth also has a little bit of strategy to it. So I'm like, yeah, it's like, at least I'm used to it. And this is going to be in Game Pass. So I'll definitely going to try it whenever that comes out. So that was all there was in that show. Because you didn't watch it, I did watch it. It's like, this at least was a good way for Xbox fans after all the calamity they've gone through of them losing their exclusives to other platforms to be like, don't worry, there's still like a vibrant library of things to play in that system.
To clarify, I didn't watch it live, but I did just catch up on it now.
Yeah.
And I would say like it's not anything big, but at the same time, it's like a lot of AA stuff, and it is what they need to build any sort of library.
It's what you need. The AA stuff or this kind of stuff is like what carries you to like the big stuff. Kind of like how we were playing so much of stuff before Rebirth. How that was carrying. And then in your case, one of those like in between waiting became your big game. Helldivers 2. So it's you never underestimate where greatness can come, even if it's not AAA. So quick headlines, Paul. There's quite a few, but we can just go through this ones quick because these headlines are so pretty self-explanatory. A new RPG Maker is coming to Switch and PlayStation. Yes, the RPG Maker is called New RPG Maker. So for fans that love RPG Maker, they'll get to do that with their systems. Princess Peach Showtime demo now available on Switch. The Princess Peach game, that's like the big Nintendo Switch game for this month. So you can go check that out for the demo. Joker's debut in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League gets release date of March 28, 2024 as Warner Bros. Doubles down on live service games. This was something that I put it in our chat, and what a backwards company. They have Hogwarts Legacy selling the best-selling game in years. That's not Call of Duty and GTA in 1 year. Suicide Squad. Regardless of what you think, I thought that we had some fun with that game. There's good parts in it.
I'll acknowledge I think I gave it a 7 or something.
Yeah, you gave it like a 7.
I'll hold to that,
yeah. So it's like, it was good. But financially, a complete disaster. Only like barely cracking 500 concurrent players for a live service game. Not even a month old. Technically, it was more than a month. It came out on February 2nd. It's now March 7th. It's like, you're already having those kind of numbers. And you're debuting Joker, like your new content, at the end of this month with such dismal numbers. But then what Warner Brothers is like, no, we want more live services. It's like, yeah, I hope you'll like go straight into bankruptcy. Like with that mentality, is like reading the room so wrong. I tell you, David Zaslav is the biggest fucking idiot in the world, like the biggest idiot. So
It's terrible.
yeah, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut rights to PC and May 16. So finally, like Ghost of Tsushima, perfect time for that game to like reemerge, because there's this Shogun show at FX that people are calling the new Game of Thrones, like a TV show with like grand scale and like authenticity. I saw the first episode. I tell you, it's really good, really really good. Helldivers 2 patch includes fire tornadoes, meteor showers, mission changes, bug fixes, and more. So basically, they're kind of like going full on their live service stuff of how they're kind of like implementing like the smart additions. To me, like the best thing that I saw from them was what they're doing to like unlock the mechs. Like we saw it on Twitter today, and that was like, that's so brilliant. Be like, their addition be like, hey, I'm glad they have a dungeon master. They literally have a literal dungeon master around, to move around like the meta of what you should do in that game. So smart.
It's so fantastic. I mean, while you drink that, it's just it's a little bit frustrating in some areas because the meteor showers show up like every 5 minutes maybe, and you will die from them. But at the same time, as long as they're willing to continue communicating with everybody and continue stabilizing and hopefully buff some things, I'm gonna stay with that sucker for a while. And they, of course, they also are dropping the next battle pass next week, which they've already confirmed that nothing goes away. You can always go back and keep choosing to get progress for the premium one, the original one, or this new one. It's up to you. You just earn the medals and you can choose.
Yes,
so
and
really cool.
And then a quick trio of headlines for the Dragon's Dogma 2 preview cycle, where Dragon's Dogma 2 has an uncapped frame rate, but no visual presets or modes on console. So basically, there's no performance mode or quality mode. There's just like one mode, and the frame rate is kind of like unlocked. So
I thought they said that it was locked on console.
Yeah, that was like a miss report.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's uncapped.
Not locked out. It's just
uncapped.
Could be, but it's gonna. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So a lot of people are kind of like worried about this because like for some people like a too jittery frame rate that's like about 30 sometimes it feels worse than just a locked 30. But we'll see, like, because we saw the thing that I sent you today about kind of like the DMC5 director saying that they learned a lot of their feel of controller feel to like make this game. I'm like, man, and that's a good feeling game for this thing. So that's gonna be good. Dragon's Dogma 2 main story campaign is about the same length as the first game. So you also kind of shared a screenshot of that. That's kind of like 30 to 35 hours just mainline, and 100 hours for completion this run, which for reference, a mainline run of Rebirth is also 30 to 35 hours. A completionist run, also 100 hours. No surprise there. I'm 57 and I'm on chapter 8. So.
Yeah.
And then Dragon's Dogma 2 has just one save file to encourage exploration. I have no idea why they justified it that way.
Oh, I hate that. Because especially with how many classes they have to choose from.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's going to be difficult. They're going to have to let you change it. It's got to be a thing.
Oh, yes, because
like I know there's the one vocation that lets you choose different ones on the fly, but I feel like there's got to be like a merchant or something that just lets you, all right, you want to switch over? Go ahead. But yeah, man, that makes me anxious, especially in this day and age.
Oh yeah, so we'll see. Like that preview coverage of that game is so positive that I'm like, yes, it's like I'm glad that it doesn't feel like it's downhill for me after Rebirth. So, and now, Paul, to conclude this week's episode, the releases for March 10th to March 16th. There's quite a few, so take it away.
Quite a few. We got Contra, Operation Galuga, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on March 12th. Melatonin on PlayStation 5, March 12th. Passing By, A Tailwind Journey on Switch and PC, March 12th. Llamasoft, The Jeff Minter Story on PC on March 13th. Cartel Tycoon on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S on March 14th. Guilt, GYLT, on Switch, March 14th. Highwater, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on March 14th. Lawn Mowing Simulator, Switch on March 14th. The one we're looking for, Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection on
On
PlayStation 5,
everything.
Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, PC on March 14th. What the Golf on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 on March 14th. Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition coming to Switch on March 15th. And Outcast, A New Beginning on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC on March 15th.
There is no two ways about it. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection is an instant buy for next week for me. It's like it's so cheap also.
It's the weirdest thing. I have been craving playing the Jedi Outcast stuff and like the Dark Forces games, even though we didn't buy it, and I know I wouldn't enjoy it, but for some reason there's like this warm blanket of 90s Star Wars stuff that just I feel wasn't ever captured after that era. And there's a little part of me that's like, oh, I just want to go back and play something old school like that.
There's just a purity to the old Star Wars stuff that was not like captured outside the Jedi games. Like there was a certain feel to those Star Wars Battlefront games that the EA ones never did, because different engine, the different kind of like focuses and unbalances and all that I can't wait. And I feel like a lot of people, like, why are they hyped for this Battlefront Classic Collection, is that there's something about Helldivers 2 that reignited something in a lot of people that reminded them a lot of that game. So I can't wait to play through even though, here's what's so funny, I own these games still on OG Xbox. I could play them, but getting to play them online at a higher resolution and like with the added characters that they're adding, like a bigger, more options for Hero Assault that's just beyond Tatooine. So it's like, it feels like the dream, and I can't wait to play Galactic Conquest again. Galactic Conquest was so good. In fact, the way you do the planets in Helldivers 2 is straight up Galactic Conquest. So it's like, that's why Helldivers 2 resonates so much. It reminds me of old school Battlefront in a PvE sense. So, yeah, that's next week. When is the 14th? The 14th is on Thursday. So, can't wait. Hopefully I'll be done by Reaver by then, based on how I'm going, because I'm just devouring that game. And I can't wait to just go devour that game again. And hopefully the temptation of playing Spider-Man 2 New Game Plus, now that it feels so good now, and it's seemingly not broken for me, will be like hard to escape. So, Paul, that's this week's episode. Where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. I've actually posted art of myself, not of myself, but art I've made, and gameplay videos of Helldivers the last couple of days. I think at least one of them, maybe more. I think it's just
I think I saw one. So,
but yeah, eventually I'll get more of those out there.
Yeah, and you can find me at _Segovia on Twitter /X. You can find me at Alejandro Segovia 93 on Threads /Instagram. And then you can find my written content currently at seasongaming.com, where you can go read my The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered review, my Grand Blue Fantasy Relink review, and my Skull and Bones review, and my upcoming review of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which may or may not go live on maybe after by the time you listen to next week's episode. And I may do a video review also, because apparently they're trying to push us, and I need to kind of capture footage for that. So, but I kind of want to see what I write so I know what to capture. So, because video is where it's at, but I had to set up the way my setup is set up right now. Valga la redundancia. It's like, it's like, I don't know if, like, I will have to play through my monitor, and I'm like, it's so pretty. It's such a pretty game. So. But Paul, always fun having you here. I'll see you in 2 weeks again, but we'll keep chatting and we'll keep playing. And everyone else, thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you enjoy it while you listen, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and leave a review if you can, or don't. Like, it doesn't matter. So that we'll love
to us, please.
Yeah, just
out here.
Yeah, just let us know what you think. We'd love to have more of a conversation with you. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the days before daylight savings, because daylight savings like strike this Sunday, and you're gonna have more sunlight potentially. Me, everything stays the same. I get my games now at 10 p.m. instead of 11 p.m. So and apparently, like, I was talking with Travis, didn't they pass something for daylight savings to become like permanent?
It was in, I think, the Senate or the House of Representatives.
I think it was the Senate. Yeah, the Senate passed it. Yeah.
The other side, and then it still has to pass on the last part of it. So we'll see how.
It's so funny. It's like the one thing that is unanimously with everyone, like, just let's make daylight savings permanent. And and they don't want it. But yeah, well, next week I'll get to record at 3. Well, this is going to be your 5, or at the 5 o'clock for whoever it is. So, and until then, enjoy some games. Play Rebirth if you're playing it, or enjoy Helldivers and any all the million games that are happening around right now in 2024. And
Press X.
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta la vista, baby.